Okay, hello. Well, welcome to today's webinar on how DZS and UScellular reach more fixed wireless access subscribers. I'm very excited to have our first public webinar on the newly acquired fixed wireless access products, and even more excited to have a really high-profile customer involved to share, their drivers and experience in using DZS fixed wireless products. So, I'm really looking forward to today's sessions. Let me introduce myself and our speakers today. I'm Jeff Burke. I'm Senior Vice President of Marketing here at DZS. Joining me today are some faces that may or may not be familiar to you, but they will be by the end of this webinar. We have Peter Lewis, who is the Product Director of Fixed Wireless Access Products. Peter, why don't you go ahead and say hello, make sure your sound's going well.
Hello, hello, hello. As you can tell, I'm from England.
We can hear you fine. Peter is based actually over in the UK, and so we're excited to have him join us today, although it's his afternoon as opposed to our morning here in the US. And also very excited to have Kyle Bedlian joining us. He's the Senior Director of Product Management, Partnerships, and Portfolio Strategy for UScellular. So Kyle, why don't you step in, say hello, make sure your sound's working okay.
Hi, Jeff. Hello, everybody. Good to be here.
Great. Sounds perfect. Fantastic. Well, as I mentioned, we have a great set of experts here joining us, and really looking forward to the session. Before we go on, let me cover a couple of basics and logistics for this session. We expect to go for about the next 40 to 45 minutes or so. Our plan is to first start off with a presentation from Peter that kind of walks through some of the drivers of fixed wireless access, and then introduces you to the product set and some of the use cases as well. Following that, Kyle will be walking through how UScellular has been leveraging these products to their success. And so, again, really excited to hear how they've been able to turn this into really a great overall success for themselves as well. As far as the session itself, we'll be waiting until the end for questions and answers. If there's something that's very urgent, I may chime in during the session. But Q&A is really going to be done virtually via the question answer module that is part of the Zoom application here. I think for those of you who are on watching this right now, look for that little module at the top or bottom of your screen. Click on it and type in your questions as we go. I'll be logging those questions and preparing them for the end of the session, but really looking forward to your participation and feedback, as that's certainly very important to the success of webinars like this. Additionally, I also want to let you know that, of course, we'll be recording this and sharing both the presentation and the recording with you afterwards, so you can both review our session today if necessary, and or share with your colleagues, and you can point them a recording there afterwards. So with that said, why don't we go ahead and start getting into the meat of our content here. So first of all, for those of you who are new to DZS, I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up of who we are as a company overall. We've been around for multiple decades. Our target markets are Americas, EMEA, and Australia, New Zealand. Our headquarters as a company is in Dallas, Texas, and we're just thrilled to have been able to bring on colleagues like Peter with the acquisition of Netcom over the course of the last couple months, who have really brought their expertise and an expansion to our portfolio that has allowed us to really expand our vision and focus of getting gigabit broadband everywhere, to a whole new set of customers, right, all around the world, and folks that historically had not been able to make that business case for getting fiber into some pretty necessary places. As you can see from the bottom of this slide here, we have a whole slew of different customers who are leveraging our wide range of broadband products, which span across broadband access around edge transport to fiber extension, fixed wireless access, and even industrial Internet of Things and Wi-Fi within the home and business. Of course, today we'll be focused on our fixed wireless access portfolio, and couldn't be more excited to really hear about the momentum that's going on in that area. So with that said, let's start getting into some of the momentum that we are seeing in fixed wireless access today. And maybe I'll turn it over to you, Peter, to kind of catch us up on this, because I know that overall this has been gaining a lot of steam in the market in terms of making sure that the unconnected are connected at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of growth happening in the fixed wireless market, not just the US, but globally. We are seeing, right now, you'll be hard pressed to find a mobile carrier that didn't have a fixed wireless offering of one sort or another. And I will talk about types in a bit. But we are seeing significant growth. When it comes to 5G, the search for the ultimate use case for 5G is still going on, but the one use case that stands out for everyone is using it for fixed wireless. When we look at fiber, obviously, people say, it's not as good as fiber. At the end of the day, a piece of glass to a property is always going to be the best, but there are logistical and economical challenges to do that. And what fixed wireless does is basically it bridges that gap and says, well, I've got a customer need, but I don't have the glass. What do I do? And like I said, it's a very useful tool to connect all these unconnected or underserved people. Not just people, of course, businesses and things as well. It can also be used. Like I said, we have got a lot of growth. The US is a great market to look at for growth. There's unprecedented growth happening there, but it probably only at the halfway mark. There's a recent research report that basically came out talking about the mobile carriers having capacity for twice as many connections, up to about 16 million can be supported. And if you look at all the underserved households in the US, that basically fixed wireless can grab the vast majority of those today. Okay, sound like someone's going to say something. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. And when we look at the growth of volumes, we're seeing a growth in device types, competition, etc. And we're going to talk, obviously, about how to expand that coverage. And one of the key things we'll be talking about in a minute will be self-install outdoor solutions, okay, as a new branch of device types.
All right. Well, with that said, let's start getting into the details of the products, Peter.
Okay, thank you. Here we go to the next slide. Right, so let's start with who we are. So DZS, Jeff has mentioned that DZS has acquired Netcom, and now via its Netcom acquisition, the whole team is sitting in Australia. Basically, it's got access to a lot of history of fixed wireless. Basically, we've been in the fixed wireless, 3GPP fixed wireless for over 16 years. Our first products came out in the 2000s. First with HSPA, first with TD-LTE, first with outdoor LTE devices, first with 360-degree auto-aligning, auto-calibrating millimeter wave 5G devices. A lot of first, and over these years, we've had a lot of experience, both on the indoor, but predominantly also on the outdoor, and helping customers do large-scale deployments. First with specialized tool sets for engineers and physical tools, software tools, apps, etc. And getting our products sitting there on people's roofs for over 10 years now, in some of the harshest environments around the world, really sort of gaining that experience of connecting the unconnected. We've been doing this for a long time. Like I said, that's who we are. If we go to the next slide. So what we have is a portfolio which goes under the name of Aorus. And as you can see, it's a family of multiple categories of devices. Some of the devices are your more traditional indoor unit with Wi-Fi routers built in, etc. But we also then have a large range of CPE devices which can be indoor or outdoor. Some of them flexible even, but they're both indoor and out, and which you can then pair with any Wi-Fi router of your choosing. That could be a DZS Wi-Fi router, it could be an Amazon Era, it could be anything. And they all come in different shapes and sizes. And this is key. We go to the next slide, Jeff. Yeah, because in DZS, we believe that all carriers are different. they have different needs. They have different deployment scenarios. Some carriers, some of our customers are focused on remote rural connectivity only for fixed wireless, and fiber is their solution for urban environments. Some other customers, they're going after quick and easy urban, suburban, high density areas, and they're not interested in the remote rurals. You've got some countries are different than others. You've got terrain limited countries where you don't have vast flat plains of many miles of line of sight. Instead, you've got hills and valleys in the way. So everyone needs different sorts of devices, and the frequency bands on top. Everyone's different. So we work on a premise of having a toolbox and different sorts of devices to meet the different carrier needs. And what we've seen, obviously, is if you want to get further, you want a bigger device. If you want to get further, you want a device that's outdoors. You want to get further, you want a device that's higher up. These are all general laws of physics that we observe and we make use of. So that's kind of the way it goes. And then also within here, we've got the different categories of devices for how carriers want to sell the service. So you've got carriers that basically offer a professional install service where they send an engineer out, you put a device on the wall high up or on the roof, and it's very much a land grab situation where basically the first carrier that gets to that house, puts something high up on the roof, kind of wins a long-term relationship with that customer. And you get a very stable connection out there. And then, of course, you've got the other solutions, which is basically very much a retail play where someone can go into a shop, pick up a box, pay for it, take it home, and within minutes already get a service. The self-install solution. So these are sort of the two sort of ends of the spectrum. So there's a whole range of solutions. So like I said, we believe in this sort of variety. If you press the button again, please, Jeff.
Well, Peter, let me ask you, just is there an upper boundary to this? I know that you have across the top, different lengths, 3 miles, 5 miles, 10, 19 miles. I think that the reality is that it probably depends on a case-by-case situation. Is that correct?
So these are typical deployment distances. So when it comes to distance, it's always any carrier needs to do what we call a link budget analysis. So what spectrum holdings do they have? What device will they be using? What is the performance of their radio network? How high is the tower? What's the output power of the radio? What's the sensitivity? There's a lot of variables in here, but most importantly, what is the service level that they're trying to offer as well, and to how many customers? So all of these things all play in to get a distance. In terms of how far can you have a 4G or a 5G connection, 100 kilometers today that's distance that you can achieve. Now, would you get the right performance for high-speed broadbands to many people over 100 kilometer diameter, 100 kilometer radius circle around a tower? That could be a lot of people who pick it up. Maybe in the middle of Alaska, you've got far less people. But that's the sort of situation. So you can go very, very, very far, if you have the right height of the towers and the antennas and the right sorts of devices. So the technology is one thing, but the reality is you've got to play with the constraints and optimize the devices and optimize your deployment for what you really will achieve. Typically,
right,
you'll have more towers in most countries than one every 100 kilometers. Yeah.
And then, of course, the use case that we'll be talking a lot about today is the self-install component of this that is really being leveraged to great success by UScellular. So just interestingly, there's a lot of different business models for this as well, obviously.
Yeah. So press button. So when we look at the carriers today who are doing 3GPP fixed wireless, one of the key things is to look at a survey from the GSA that was published in June this year, where basically they've spoken to all these carriers offering 4G or 5G fixed wireless services and tried to look at what sort of services. They've looked at pricing, etc. as well. And of interest is when you look at how many of these carriers offer indoor solutions versus outdoor solutions. So The vast majority, as you can see, 92.3% basically have an indoor offering. Doesn't mean it's indoor only, but they have an indoor. But as you can see, there's about over 70% don't have any outdoor offering at all today. Now, that's actually a good thing because it's actually growing. So it's compared to the same survey last year, the number of operators who are doing outdoor has grown, and it will continue to grow. And there's a reason for this, is because today fixed wireless has been the easy option, the easy use case to sell for 5G. And it's easy for most carriers because they're used to selling devices. They sell, they have retail shops and they have handsets in there, and customer comes in, picks it up and takes it away. And you can, for an indoor product, you can sell it in the same way. Many mobile carriers don't have field forces. They can't do truck rolls. And they're just not in that position to sort of service a different sort of customer with a solution sale. So what we see is very much a focus on indoor today. Everyone's doing it. It's very, very easy. But as you start to saturate your market with your indoor sales, and typically indoor is sold to urban and suburban areas, as you start running out of customers to connect, you start seeking to reach further. And that's when you start saying, well, I need to get outdoors. I need to get the other customers that have been struggling to connect. So, like I said, those that haven't gone, it's not that they won't go, it's just a matter of timing of how, when they will get to outdoor, and of course, what sort of outdoor solution that they will go for. Okay, so there's a lot of growth potential still to come. Now, indoor self-install will still probably be a significant volume difference to the outdoor over time. But we do expect, the vast majority of carriers over time to take that leap from indoors to out. The question is why do they need to do it? Press the button. So this is back to the laws of physics. Now, we all know that when we're on our smartphone, you can't actually see my smartphone because of my camera. When you've got your smartphone and you're trying to make a call in a building, sometimes the performance is not very good. And what do? You walk to the nearest window or you walk to your front door. Why? Because the signal's better. The signal's better because it's not having to degrade. You're not having indoor penetration losses as it goes. The signal comes through the wall or the window. A fixed wireless device is no different to your smartphone in that case. If we look at the frequency band used by most carriers globally for 5G today, which is the C band, the 3.5 gigahertz frequency range, the difference between one side of a double glazed window and the other side, the inside and the outside of a double glazed window, so which is only a couple of centimeters thick, that is at least 16 dBs. 16 dBs doesn't sound like a lot, but in RF terms, that is very, very significant. Okay. When we look, so just from moving from indoors to out can make a big, big boost in the signal, much bigger than you can get from increasing the size of an indoor device. You can't suddenly go that sort of boost any other way. What we also then get is the moment you get outside, you then have less aesthetic constraints. The device doesn't have to look good on your coffee table. Yeah, it can be bigger. Bigger devices, bigger antennas perform better. The location of the device can be higher up the building or a wall or a window, etc. Typically, again, when we get outdoors and we get larger, we can get more directionality on the antennas. You can choose the side of the building you're going to put the antenna, or you can even have an antenna that you can adjust and point. The moment we start getting directionality in the antennas, we start filtering out lots of interference and noise from elsewhere, and we just focus the signal. Again, as we're going higher up the buildings or outdoors, etc., we have more line of sight. We get greater MIMO capabilities. We also have better, because we've got the better RF and the connection, we have higher modulation rates, and both the MIMO streams and the modulation rates then improve from an end user point of view, improves the end user throughputs, And from a carrier's point of view, most importantly, it improves the network efficiency, so they can actually afford to connect more customers to the cell at the same time. And of course, when you've got a device on the outside, you have less people walking around in front of it. You don't have people rearranging the furniture in your room. You don't have someone coming along and picking up a device, dusting under it, putting it back down and slightly pointing it in a different direction than it originally was. So there's a lot more stability for that end user experience. Contrary on the indoors, like I said, you've got the moment you get indoors, you've got this sort of multi-path issues, you've got blockages, you've got people moving around. You've also got other sources of noise. Your white goods, your washing machines with motors, your microwave, so they all create noise depending on which frequencies you're using for your service. And of course, once you get a device that's indoors, you've got the other issues that people put the device in the wrong place. So they put it where they want the device for the best Wi-Fi, not where you want the device from a carrier point of view. But also because they're going to put a device, say, on a coffee table, and you don't know the relation of the coffee table to a window, you don't know the direction that this device is going to be looked at from it. They'll probably put the device looking nicely to where they sit in the room. So you don't know the orientation of these devices in relation to the windows, in relation to the towers, etc. So you don't have directionality of signal in these sorts of indoor devices. And hence these devices become omnidirectional in nature. And basically they can pick up signals from any source at all, which basically, again, reduces that, increases the interference and noise that they can pick up. So, like I said, these are laws of physics. Okay, if we go to the next slide. So as we move to outdoors, there are different things we can do. So if we compare an indoor solution today, okay, a typical Wi-Fi router, 5G modem all in one box, which goes in the center of the house, we know that the signal is better. Like I said, just by moving from indoors to outdoors at 3.5 gigs, we already get in a 16 dB. But if you go to a professional install device, much bigger device, and you put it on your roof, you can have a massive improvement in that link budget. And so when we look at those that improvements, if we look at 16 dBs on a tower in line of sight, you can get like 32 times the coverage, the area covered. So you can potentially pick up more customers. Now, if you go professional install, though, the device cost may be higher. If you go professional install, of course, you've got a truck roll cost. But when you go through the numbers, whilst your initial cost of connection is higher, you've got a higher upfront cost, you can actually connect more customers in the long term and get more recurring long-term revenues, which is paid for by so that your increased equipment cost and your installation cost is paid for by these connections. So like I said, you've got to view this as being a long-term business as opposed to a short-term. It's all about the TCO. And so that's what we do professional install. Now, self-install the same. Self-install will never go as far. So if you press the button. So, and these are just example sort of numbers. So if you do a self-install solution, you won't reach as far as a large, high-gain, directional, roof-mounted, professionally installed antenna. But by getting on that outside of the building, you can get more customers. And again, just being very conservative here, just assuming 4 times the number of customers that you can reach because you've got this extra 16 dBs. Like I said, again, that pays in. Now, in this case, a self-install, you don't have your truck roll. So you don't have to cater for truck roll. You may still have an increased cost of the equipment because you've now got a Wi-Fi router as well as an outdoor modem. But you don't have a truck roll cost. So here, this is like the sweet spot in the middle where you can still make higher revenues. You don't have such a large initial outlay for connecting a customer. So like I said, so these are the sorts of numbers which carriers can go through in their analysis. But the reason why today everyone does the indoor is because it is the lowest upfront cost of connection. Okay, so like I said, it's about changing that mindset. If you press the button again.
And with the euro being just about even with the US dollar today, if anyone needs any translation, it's like the
Yeah,
numbers are
sorry,
pretty
euros.
similar.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, these are all examples because obviously the ARPUs are going to be different in every market and things as well. So,
Understood.
yeah, and the same with installation costs. Some countries installation costs are as low as $12, and in some countries it could be as high as 250. It really depends on how far the engineer has to drive.
Right, right. Well, and so the flexibility of solutions is important. So let's get into those.
Okay, so what we've been doing from DZS is basically we've got this product called the Aris Link, which is our flexible indoor-outdoor product. So basically, it's designed as an outdoor, but we design the product and the mounting options where basically we encourage the customer greatly to deploy it outdoors, but if for whatever reason they can't deploy it outdoors, it can also be indoors. And we gain on the indoors, we encourage them to get this on the correct side of the building, on the window, as near to that window as humanly possible, to remove any other blockages and sources of interference that can get in the way. So basically, we overcome this issue of a indoor Wi-Fi router where they want to put it in the center of the house. And as a product, it's a very flexible solution. You can see here the picture of it being window mounted. It can be indoor window mounted, outdoor window mounted. It can be wall mounted, pole mounted, pipe, balcony railings, desk mounted. There's lots of, setting on your windowsill is just as easy. There's lots of different ways it can be mounted. So it's just a very, very flexible product. And I'm not going to do a big product pitch, but that's kind of what we've been doing to sort of overcome this sort of self-install. And we've done a lot of work to support this with apps, etc. And we'll continue innovating in this space. So, Jeff.
All right. Well, with that said, let's move on to Kyle. So, Kyle, can you walk us through what UScellular has been doing with regard to these products and how this has turned into a pretty interesting success story for you?
Yeah, Jeff, I will. And hello, everybody. It's great to be here. First, Jeff, thanks for the invitation. And I've worked with Peter for a long time, so it's an honor to share the virtual stage with him. By way of an introduction, my name is Kyle Bedley, and I lead the product organization for UScellular. If you're not familiar with UScellular, I'll just fill you in briefly. UScellular is the fourth largest full-service wireless carrier in the US. We have 5 million customers in the US, and our network's deployed across 21 states. We deployed fixed wireless 10 years ago at UScellular, and I'm proud to say I've been part of the business since its inception. We started with a 4G LTE router designed to offer connectivity in rural areas nearly 10 years ago, and we've been evolving ever since, now offering broadband competitive speeds to our customers. A key piece of our evolution has been DZS and the products that they offer to us and to our customers, and I'm excited to talk about our work together today. As I mentioned, I lead a product organization of product managers, and I'll tell you, every product manager's dream is to have a product that has great success in the market, and that's what we have with FWA. It causes a high society problem, though. How do you keep up with a customer's need at the expanded scale? That's exactly what happened to us with fixed wireless. Fixed wireless was growing so good for us and so fast for us that we needed to solve a problem. Wireless networks are great, but if they eventually reach capacity and you have to decide, do I deploy more capacity? To deploy more capacity is very expensive, costly network investments, spectrum, towers, etc. The good news for us, though, is that's only a portion of the equation. The other equation is you can get the device to do more. And that's exactly what we did with DZS. And we worked together to find a way for the device to solve the problem rather than the network to solve the problem. Let's move to the next slide, please, Jeff. So to eliminate our capacity ceiling problem, we studied what customers love about the current indoor solution that Peter mentioned is so widely deployed. And we worked to understand what do we need to do to design an outdoor solution that will still meet their needs. Sounds really easy. Customers need something that's easy to install, easy to set up. They want it to just work, and they want it to have a great design. Carriers like us want the device to be outside due to the reasons that Peter mentioned. We want the device to be directionally pointed towards the tower. We want the device to provide a stable signal. And of course, we want more power and more antennas in the device. So we had to marry these two things. Let's go to the next slide, please, Jeff. With FWA, there's two guardrails of devices. The leftmost guardrail is the indoor device. The indoor device offers a great customer experience in terms of setup. They can place the device where they want. It's plug and play. They unbox it, plug it in. It just works. The unintended consequence of that, though, is it allows the customers to place the device exactly where they wanted to place it. Sometimes in basements, sometimes inside cabinets, in locations that are not always great for wireless signal. On the other guardrail, we have the pro install devices. That's where we send a professional technician out to your site, to the customer site, to install the device precisely aligned towards the network tower. Offers a rocking network experience. The problem is it comes at the downside of the customer experience in terms of we have to drill through your house. We have to offer this device that's big, that will likely be mounted on your roof. We have to schedule an installer. You have to be home while they do it. So it has some consequences that customers aren't always willing to sacrifice on. That leads us to our happy medium, the marriage of these two, which is the outdoor self-install device highlighted in orange that we've deployed with DZS. This is the best of both worlds, which I call stick plug and play. It allows the device to be outside, allows the customers to get great wireless service, but also is done in a way that's on the customer's terms. They install it. It's super easy to install, and it really is the best of both worlds. Let's move to the next slide, please, Jeff. To deploy this self-install, though, we had to be very conscious with DZS and with our customers to deploy the solution in a way that was going to meet the customer's needs that were historically presented at indoor. First of all, we need to have an unobtrusive size. If this device is going to be on someone's window, a window they might often look out of, it can't be this big sail of a device. The device we've deployed with DZS is a little bit larger than an iPhone. So very unobtrusive size, very nice design. The second thing is we needed to solve for no holes. Our point of view is to be self-install. The device does not require a drill. It does not require a ladder. We had to have no holes, able to mount at the ground level such that any customer could affix it to their window. The third, of course, is affixing to the window via gecko tape. We evaluated a number of options, suction cups, gecko tape, other things. We found gecko tape, the ability to remove it and replace it if you need to. It's very durable, yet replaceable should the customer need to reposition the device. And lastly, and perhaps most important, we needed to have a guided installation process via self-install app. The app, step-by-step, steps the customer exactly through how they power the device on, where they should put the device, the orientation to the network, repositioning the device if they need to. These 4 pain points we had to solve have been really paramount to our success since we solved them really effectively together. Let's move to the next slide, please. This has provided 2 notable benefits. I'll cover one benefit on this slide and the other benefit on the next slide. The benefit to the carrier is it's allowed us to grow our total addressable market. If you look at the far most right green line, the percentage of homes that we could service with indoor FWA was healthy, but relatively small when you look at the percent of houses that we could serve with outdoor FWA, which is the light blue line. The happy medium that we found is the orange line, which is our self-install line. We can serve more than 2x the number of houses with our outdoor self-install product than we can relative to the indoor self-install product. So while we haven't fully gotten to the professional install TAM, we're getting most of it, and we're very happy and satisfied with being able to get most of it. And of course, we'll work with Peter and team to make that orange line fully close as we can relative to the pro install line. Let's move to the next slide. Most importantly, though, the benefit we've delivered to the customers is that they are getting a much better, faster network experience with the outdoor self-install product relative to indoor. Indoors, the bottom green bar, you can see great speeds, but not as good as speeds as the outdoor self-install product has had for us. So customers are very delighted with the speeds that they're getting with our outdoor self-install product. Let's go to the next slide, please, Jeff. So to bring us home, let me reference the slide that I shared earlier about what customers want and what carriers want. And I'm happy to say we successfully addressed all of the needs with the outdoor self-install product. To the customer, it's easy to install. It's easy to set up. It just works and it offers a great design. To us, we're very satisfied as carriers because the device is outside. Peter talked about the benefits of the device being outside. We are seeing them in real time on our network. Outside devices just perform better for us and for our customers. These devices, thanks to the self-install guided app, are directionally pointed to the tower correctly. They offer a stable signal. Nobody's walking in front of them. There's no person moving them around. They're affixed to the window. And lastly, because the device is outside, we took a little bit of liberty to make the device slightly bigger to allow for higher power and more antennas, which again provides a great customer experience in terms of network speed. So all in all, Jeff, really great success from us from self-install outdoor FWA. It's allowed us to meet our carrier needs. More importantly, it's allowing us to delight our customers, which is leading to more sales for us. And we very much appreciate DCS's work with us on the initiative.
Well, we're proud to be part of this, to partner with you on this. You know, it's not very often in business you find an opportunity that doubles the size of your addressable market while at the same time giving them a better product. So I think
it's a winning combination, a winning combination.
Yeah, winning combo, exactly. So, Kyle, I know that we're, thank you for walking through the details of this with us. Maybe what we can do is, I have a couple of quick questions for you. You know, what enhancements to self-install is UScellular considering at this point in time?
Yeah, Jeff, there's 3 enhancements that we're working with DZS on to take the device to the next level. The first is we still have a cable that goes under the window. That causes a little bit of challenge in some minor instances where customers might not have a window that opens horizontally. Their window might open vertically. The cable's not always conducive to that. Maybe they have a window that rolls open. So the cable in some minor instances has caused some challenge. So we're going to try to find ways to eliminate the cable altogether. The second item that we're going to work with DCS on relative to devices, we have a great self-install app, but we have a number of customers, particularly in some of our markets, where they may not be using a smartphone. They may still have a feature phone. They may still be using a landline phone. So the ability to guide the install without an app is something that we're working on. And third is the cost. Peter mentioned the cost is incrementally higher on the outdoor devices. That is true. We're working, of course, to drive costs down as low as we can while still providing a great customer experience, such that we can have the device more sellable and grow our TAM even further.
Gotcha. I want to encourage anyone who's on the call here now as well to, if you have any questions, enter them into the question and answer module through Zoom, and we'll go ahead and make sure that your questions are addressed head on. As we're kind of going through that, Peter, I wanted to ask you a quick question. I know that, we've talked about the fact that DZS produces 3GPP based technology for fixed wireless access devices, but does that move from indoor to outdoor also apply to other non-3GPP solutions or solutions using unlicensed spectrum overall?
So yes, no. So the laws of physics apply to everyone. So indoor to outdoor applies. However, when you look at the ecosystems, so if we look at okay, so there's 2 things here. So there's in the fixed wireless world, there's 3GPP, and then there's unlicensed fixed wireless, and there's proprietary non-3GPP fixed wireless. If we look at the unlicensed, where basically they're using frequency bands like 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz, or 60 gigahertz spectrum, typically those frequencies are power limiters. So you're never going to get these super long distances anyway using those. And then because of that, typically the only devices you can get are already outdoor devices. So there isn't a lot of indoor devices in that ecosystem. Similarly, in the non-3GPP proprietary technologies, there isn't a large variety of device because those proprietary technologies, the vendor that's selling the network infrastructure is also selling the device, and there's a limit to how many device types they could have. So again, outdoor is typically their starting point. So we don't see a lot of indoor fixed wireless that isn't 3GPP, essentially. But the laws of physics apply to everyone. So
okay, well, thank you.
That was clear or not?
So, Kyle, another question for you. You've highlighted, what outdoor self-install does well. What are the shortcomings you've identified overall?
Yeah, there's 2. One, as Peter mentioned with our Pro install, we don't quite fully address the TAM with the outdoor self-install that the Pro install does. There are a number of physics challenges in front of us, but we believe by adding more power and more antenna to the devices while still maintaining a reasonable size, We could stretch the limits even further on the outdoor self-install. Higher power, more antennas should lead to more TAM for us. But the biggest issue is that it doesn't fully close the gap with Pro Install. Pro Install, though, to Peter's point, has a number of physics benefits, including being higher up on the roof. Higher, better line of sight's always going to lead to a better network experience if you can do it. But again, we believe power and antennas inside the device could be reasonable improvements in the near term that we can take to close the gap even further relative to outdoor Pro Install.
So Kyle, actually Pro Install also has a marketing advantage as well. So what we do see is anything that's self-install has a higher churn. So whilst it's easy for the end user to install, it's also easy for them to deinstall and to install a competitor. Whereas if you've gone through that hassle we talked about of arranging for an engineer to come to your house and having to be in and them drilling holes and going up ladders, etc. Once you've gone through that process, you've got a device that's out of sight, out of mind, and very stable solution. And we typically see the churn rates for those customers being much, much lower. So you're absolutely right. These are the trade-offs.
Yeah, I agree with you. As you provide customers better experiences in terms of the network, the churn is definitely lower. That's true indoor, self-install, and Pro Install, and it does kind of graduate, as you've mentioned.
So I know that actually brings up an interesting question, Kyle, with regard to, how many competitors do you usually run into in your markets where you're actually utilizing this? And is fixed wireless competing head to head against fixed competitors, or is it mostly other wireless solutions that you're competing against?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jeff. As we think about our deployments in low band, mid band, and millimeter wave, the answer is really all of the above. As we go in, 4G LTE and some of the low band, we're competing against maybe one broadband provider, DSL provider, or a satellite provider. As we go into our markets where we've deployed millimeter wave, we're competing with fiber head to head. In every gamut in between. Mid-band has kind of been a mix of one or two broadband competitors in a given market. But as we deploy technologies, the competitive set kind of evolves.
So I have one last question for each of you, and that is that, so certainly we have things like Starlink, just, low Earth orbit type solutions, right? How does this compare both technologically as well as competitively, right, from your perspectives in terms of, competing with something that's coming at this question from a national level rather than a regional or local level?
Peter, would you like to go first?
I'll go. Okay, so if we look at satellite, so satellite obviously has a really good advantage of reach, so you can get everywhere. But it's not what I would call a self-install. It's a DIY install. So you install your own Starlinks yourself, or you pay a local handyman to do it. But it is a lot more complex as an activity compared to the sort of solution that Cal has with his self-install. So satellite is great because you can reach everyone. But by reaching everyone, you also then have issues on capacity. So they're from a performance point of view, that is, it will not perform as good as a terrestrial-based network with many cells and towers servicing smaller sets of people. I do think that long term we will see hybrid terrestrial satellite 5G fixed wireless access. So in the satellite world, they are embracing the 5G technologies and what we're calling 5G non-terrestrial networks. So when basically a satellite can talk to a normal 5G device, then basically we could actually could have hybrid fixed wireless devices that use terrestrial whenever they can. But if you happen to get to a customer that you can't get a terrestrial signal, then the same device can use a satellite signal instead. So I see that as where the market's going to go.
Yeah, okay. Peter, I really appreciate your comments. And the only other color that I'd add there is First of all, as a wireless expert in our industry, I'm happy for any type of connectivity that the customer can get. If satellite's their only option, I'm happy and thankful that it's there and that it's improving and getting really good. At UScellular, we're very happy with the products that we've deployed, both in the short, long, and medium term outlooks. We believe that terrestrial networks provide kind of the best of both worlds. That said, where Peter has mentioned, there are going to be times where the terrestrial network is not economically possible or feasible, in which case satellite might be a really, really great option. But I'm happy for all customers to be connected with whatever means that they need to do so to be connected.
And then, just out of curiosity, Cal, from a price point, how does it necessarily compare when customers may be looking at that as an alternate solution and compared to yours?
Yeah, I can only speak to the UScellular pricing relative to that. UScellular pricing is very attractive relative to the other options in the market. That's true across traditional fixed providers, fiber, broadband, DSL, and it's also true against satellite. We're very happy with the economics that we offer to our customers. We're very happy with the economics that it's returned to the company. We're very aggressively positioned price-wise relative to satellite and to fixed networks.
That's fantastic. Well, better, higher quality solution and better pricing. Another great combination for success. So with that said, I know we had targeted about 45 minutes for this, and I think we were coming in pretty much right at that point. So with this, I will thank both of you for sharing your expertise with our DZS family today, as well as others who were coming in to really get their first look at these sorts of solutions and hear about their success. So again, we really appreciate your doing this with us today, Kyle. It's UScellular has been a great customer as well as a great partner and supporter over the years, and we really appreciate your involvement in that. And Peter, of course, you've been involved with this for many years, pioneering this technology as well. Your expertise is really valued. So thank you both for your participation today.
Our pleasure.
Jeff, it was great to be
back
with
in
you.
a couple of years talking about what the next things we did.
Now, for everyone who's listening, we have been recording this session. We'll be reaching out to you afterwards with the recording as well as the PowerPoint support. And then feel free to share this with your colleagues or come back and review if you have time. And at any point in time, if you need more information, feel free to contact us at www.dzsi.com. You can not only contact us there, but also get more information on our world-class fixed wireless access products, as well as the breadth of our access, transport, and software solutions. Thanks again, everybody. And with that, I think we'll sign off for today. Appreciate your time.